Thank you. Well, right now, some schools across Ohio remain canceled, and this includes classes at Indian Lake schools in Logan County.
Indian Lake High School was transformed into a shelter to support folks who were impacted by the storm. Rob Underwood, who is the superintendent for Indian Lake Schools, joins us this morning. Rob, tell us where things stand now. You're still sort of a staging point for folks?
Actually, we've kind of transitioned from initially we were the main distribution center because we're located about a mile and a half south of where the main part of the storm came through. Everybody was without power, but we did have backup generators at the school. So we initially served as the main distribution center. And yesterday we worked on kind of transitioning those operations more into the heart of the village, into the Indian Lake Community Church, so that they could get those items right into the hands of the people who need them.
Rob, walk us through how this works moving forward with in regards to school for your students and their families. They're going through the unimaginable right now. So do you check in with those families? Do they report to you? And what do classes even look like in the first days when you guys return?
Yeah, so we are closed Monday, Tuesday. Our staff, though, today we're working. First of all, we identified a list of students who were directly impacted. We think there's about 190 students who were, likely lost basically everything, and so we're working to touch base with those kids even as we speak, and finding out where they're living and how we can make sure they can come to school when we hopefully resume on Wednesday. But additionally, the remainder of our staff is going to try to reach out to every single student in our district because everyone has been impacted, whether if they were volunteering or had a friend or a neighbor or somebody who again lost everything. So our goal is to touch base with every single student today and make sure their families have what they need.
Can you talk, Rob, about the impact, last week when after this hit and you all talked about being set up for a shelter and the things that you needed? Can you talk about how folks kind of poured out their generosity for the community?
Yeah, I mean, the only way to describe it is just simply extraordinary. Starting Thursday night, literally half an hour after the storm hit, it was just so hard to move into the villages. All the roads were down, and power lines were everywhere, and so it was hard to get to the people. So we had nurses showing up at the high school saying, we're ready when if injured folks come in, and so we were ready, and we stayed there all night Thursday, and then first thing Friday morning, just a few supplies started coming in, and we really weren't asking for anything, and then all of a sudden, semis started showing up.
Wow.
And in addition to all those goods, just people came, and I've been given a lot of credit for leading those efforts, and to be real honest with you, it's just our admin team and our teaching staff at Indian Lake that helped coordinate all that, and it really was something to watch, and it's just very humbling. And I know this is a tragedy and devastating for our community, but I just feel really blessed to get to be part of all of it.
And Rob, we'll leave you with this last question too. With the logistics of getting back to class on Wednesday, for parent drop-off, for the bus routes, that's got to be looking different Wednesday morning, right?
Yeah, we're still working to find some of those things. Some major thoroughfares are still closed as they're trying to get power and some of those things up and running. I know that AES has restored a lot of that power, but the village of Lakeview actually has its own electric system, and it's pretty much completely down. So we know the main thoroughfares are closed, and we're working on with local officials on how we can reroute. But the biggest thing we want to do is we want to be a resource for the community. We want to be a place that folks can go if they need help, and we want our kids to get back to normalcy as much as possible, so that their parents can work through this.
All right, Superintendent Rob Underwood, thank you so much. And I always say, if you want something done, tell a teacher. Ask a teacher. You certainly saw that.
You guys appear to be already a tremendous help for the community as well. Well, 10 TV and our viewers can help those impacted by storm damage. 10 TV is partnering with the United Way of Logan County to raise funds for those devastated by tornadoes. Viewers can contribute by texting the word donate to the number right there on your screen, 614-460-3345.